Assalamu alaikum, family. Peace be unto you. You are tuned in to the Sajdah channel. And I am your host, Sajdah Wendy Muhammad. And we're going to be talking today about predatory capitalism. This is a free webinar that I am giving to you, which I do this every week, but free one this week that I'm giving to you in the right before our paid money psychology webinar series that's starting on Sunday. So if you have not registered, go to this, use this QR code, okay, and go out there. You can get all 4 courses for $49, or you can take one at a time for $25, okay? So be a friend, tell a friend, let them know that we're live. And I'll be right back. We're going to start our talk on predatory capitalism. We're going to do an assessment, and we'll go from there. So I'll be right back. Don't go anywhere.
O Allah, guide me among those whom Thou hast guided aright, and preserve me among those whom Thou hast preserved, and befriend me among those whom Thou hast befriended. Bless me in whatsoever Thou dost grant me, and deliver me from the evil of what Thou hast judged. Surely Thou judges, and none can judge against Thee, and he whom Thou befriendest is not disgraced. Blessed art Thou, O Lord, and exalted be Thee above what they set up besides Thee. I bear witness, nothing deserves to be served besides Thee, and I bear witness that Muhammad is Thy servant and apostle. Amen.
I have told you the first part of my life, I was a farmer in Georgia.
Yes, sir.
Right?
Yes, sir.
Nobody there was looking at me flying and you thought that I would ever be a scientist teaching the world.
Yes, sir.
See, it is time that brings on things.
All right, y'all. Welcome, welcome, welcome. You're tuned in to the Sajdah channel. I am your host, Sajdah Wendy Muhammad, and we're going to be talking this morning about predatory capitalism. And this is a free webinar. So let's get into it. Okay, let's get into it. A lot of people are wondering why this topic, why this makes sense. The goal is for us to understand, and something that I always say, you'll see it in my book, old business models no longer work. Okay. And we've been talking extensively on this show about the origins of capitalism, how we can move into a better form and a better way of doing business. And so this show today is just designed to help us find a better way to be of services to our communities, to focus on the needs of our people as taught to us by the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And it's a tough subject. It's tough because hit dogs will holler. I'm going to tell you something. We're going to all be hit dogs in this webinar today. Why? Because we've been taught business by predatory capitalists. The whole basis and origin, as you've learned a couple of weeks ago, of capitalism in this part of the world that we live in was based upon a predatory relationship or predatory relationships. And so most of us that study business from that system. So the real science of business, the real science of trade and commerce, most of us don't know. Even if we are extremely successful in business, even if we went to business school, we don't oftentimes know it. And so what I've been doing over the years is really deeply studying the business development process of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, who in my judgment and opinion as a follower is one of the greatest to ever have done it. Okay. And we're going to, if you go into my history here on the channel, I have a whole series on the accomplishments of the Muslims. I have an entire series on the proper handling of people, which is something else he taught us. But one of the things that was important in the way he did business is to focus on the needs of the people. And if you focus on the needs of the people and you're a predator, then that begins to equal predatory capitalism. But if you focus on the needs of the people and you're of service and you're working on introducing goods and services, much needed goods and services into the community, then that can help to better our community. The other piece of this is, can nobody watching this say that they're not a predatory capitalist, that they have never practiced predatory capitalism? Some of us are more extreme than others. Some of us are straight up predators. And then some of us are baby predators. But we all got to get this up out of our system. Our open enemy is teaching us and training us to be predators in every single thing that we do. And so this is a attempt with this webinar, a tiny attempt to get us thinking. Okay. And if through this webinar, we can eradicate one or two behaviors from your business practice, that's a start. But this is all designed to raise awareness. Okay. All right. So let's first start with the definition of a predator. A predator is a person who exploits, victimizes, or harms others for their own gain, particularly in situations involving vulnerable individuals. Okay, I'm going to say that again. A predator is a person who exploits, victimizes, or harms others for their own gain, particularly in situations involving vulnerable individuals. Some of you may say, well, I know I don't do that. I don't know. We're going to find out today because we're going to take the assessment. But what a predator does is they generally study their victims, or they already know, because it's this whole predatory concept is out here, but they figure out where they think the person or the community or the people are vulnerable, or the company. You got big companies that prey on other companies. Where do they think you're vulnerable? They exploit you. They victimize you for their own gain. And they will make it look, it's very deceptive, a very deceptive process. If any of you have ever been preyed upon on a personal level, you know what I'm talking about. There's generally a seduction that takes place. And the seduction is not always sexual. We talked about seduction in business, where people will love bomb you, compliment you, award you, so that they can make you release your guard and you allow them to get close, so they start to see your business practices, what you do, how you roll. And this is not people that you allow to shadow you so that they can learn. These are people who are love bombing you or emotionally even blackmailing you, just like in a relationship. There's a whole webinar I did on this channel about that subject. Okay. But it usually starts with some form of seduction, where they zone in, get in your face, and then say, this is what he needs. This is what the company needs. This is what she needs. Now, there's a fine line with that, because when you focus on the needs of the people, you're going to see the need, you're going to see a problem, you're going to solve it. But when you see the need and you see the problem, the question is, what do you do? Are you fulfilling the need and solving the problem because you want to take advantage, because you want to make extra money? It's okay to get paid for services. So I don't want you guys to think that this is about coercing you all into free services, coercing you all into devaluing yourself. I'm not saying that at all. I don't work for free. And when you give content online, you show them who, you show what, but the how has to be paid for. Or the actual doing of it has to be paid for. So I don't want you to get misconstrued here and say, well, this means that I got to be working for free. We're not talking about that. That's not what we're talking about. All right, let's go here. I talked about what a predator is. We broke that down. I think you guys know about that. I want to really quickly, the first thing we're going to do during this particular session, we're going to take a predatory capitalist assessment. So grab your pen, paper, or grab a phone, because as we're going through these questions, we're going to do it on the slideshow that I have. As we're going through these questions, you're going to keep score. Okay. You're going to write down how many true answers you have and how many false. So you can easily, however you want to do it, you can make 2 columns, true and false, and then make a hashtag, whatever you want to do. But I want you to count how many times you have truths and how many times you have false. And I'm going to try to explain each question. I may or may not. I'll see what my spirit says when we get there, but because I don't want to taint your answers. And you're the only one that knows the answers to these questions. Okay. So you can be free to tell the truth, because this is personal. And again, Do not tell me that you're not a predatory capitalist, because if you've only learned business in a predatory capitalist system, then you're a predatory capitalist. Listen, I was the person growing up that got all the good grades. I checked all the boxes. I wanted to be in business my entire life. So this system, I studied, and I had to work really hard to eradicate certain things from my thinking and find ways to understand how to do things. Because this whole thing of predatory capitalism, it leads to unethical and low tone, low vibrational, and immoral behavior if you get off too deep into it. And, you know, this is not the 1960s. This ain't the 1970s. This is 2025. We are living in a day where your ethics and your morality, you may not think they matter, but they matter. Because the thing about the predatory capitalism is that they keep dangling the carrot, right? They tell you, do this, do that, do this. And as soon as you do that, and as soon as you do this, anyway, I don't want to talk too much before we do the assessment. So grab your pen and paper. We're going to take a quick 60-second break. I want to show you a quick commercial, and we're going to be back, and we're going to dive into the assessment. All right. If you have any questions, put them in the chat, and I can try to answer them before we start the assessment. All right, let's go. All right, we're back. You're tuned into the Sajdah channel, and this is the Predatory Capitalism Workshop webinar. That was a video for our upcoming Money Psychology webinar bundle that actually starts Sunday night. So if you want to take all 4 courses, you just use the QR code. You're going to pay $49. If you want to take just one course, if you said, I really just want the mental strategies, or I really just want the financial literacy, or I really just want to learn about credit, then you just pay $25. Okay. Now let's get in. I'm going to start this, and we're going to do this with some slides. All right. So I have the slides here, and I have them in front of me just to start. Hope you got your pen and paper. Are you a predatory capitalist? Everybody living in America answering that question. I don't care how church going you are. I don't care how mosque going you are. I don't care how synagogue going you are. I don't care how Buddhist you are. I don't care how much of a Jehovah Witness you are. The answer to that is yes. Because the business models that we learned in school, the business models that we learned from watching people in the streets, the business models that we learned from going into business ourselves are rooted in a predatory capitalist system. And what we're doing today is simply raising our awareness. All right. So what is predatory capitalism? It's prioritizing short-term profits, often at the expense of ethical considerations, social welfare, and the environment. It involves businesses and individuals engaging in aggressive, oftentimes manipulative tactics to gain market share and wealth, disregarding the long-term consequences of their actions. I'm not going to I'm not going to expound upon that because I don't want to taint our subject. All right, this next one simply is saying this is an assessment designed to reflect behaviors and attitudes that are often associated, okay, with aggressive, exploitative, or unethical capitalism. It's meant to provide thought, to provoke thought, okay, and to entertain. I'm not diagnosing your business ethics. So don't get freaked out and start losing your mind. I'm not judging. This is a no judgment zone. But I want you to assess yourself. And this is the interesting thing about awareness that I learned during my training as an emotional intelligence coach, is that once your subconscious mind becomes aware of something, the solution becomes more accessible if you submit. That's a whole nother interesting subject. All right. So y'all ready for the first question? Okay, here we go. First question. I want you to answer true or false to this. I believe profit is more important than people. Answer true or false. Some of y'all going, oh, that's obvious. That's obvious. But I want you to answer true or false. Be honest. All right. Next question. True or false? If I can legally exploit a loophole, I will. Ethics are secondary. True or false? Most of y'all on the surface are going to say, of course not. I wouldn't do that. I want you to be honest. Think about how often you're looking for a shortcut. Think about how often you're looking for a loophole. Think about how often and who you are when nobody is looking. That's your real ethics. It's not about when somebody's looking at you, when you're in the public. It's about who are you when nobody's looking. What are the things that you do that you think nobody can see that are holding you back, and that's going to have you in the crosshairs of something really bad? What are you doing that you think is being kept secret? The question is, if I can legally exploit a loophole, I will. Ethics are secondary. True or false? All right. Here's the next question. I see employee wages as a cost to minimize, not an investment. True or false? You and your business, are you willing to reduce wages or payroll, or are you willing to try to get away with having somebody do something for you for free? Are you lying I ain't got no money, I can't really pay you? This is between you and the God. Answer it, because if you really want to get to that level that you say you're trying to get to in this day and time, when everything is being exposed, it's time to uproot some of that stuff that we think we're doing in the dark. Some of that stuff we think is going on in our dark mind. Trust me, people can see it. And people know it. And a lot of times people are just being patient with you, hoping that you get your stuff together. So again, the question, I see employee wages as a cost to minimize, not an investment. If you've been taught business where all you try to do is figure out, how do I get the most with paying the least amount of money, no matter what, then you should be answering true to this question. Even if you're a good person and you say, look, I'm a miser, I don't be paying all that. Answer true to this question, because in that, you got to mine out, how often have you taken advantage of a situation, taken advantage of a friendship, seduced someone into friendship, gaslit somebody just so you could get something out of them? All right, let's go to the next question. I prefer monopolies. They're just good business. True or false? What's a monopoly? A monopoly is a company or group having exclusive control over community or service. A lot of you are saying, well, that don't apply to me because I don't have a monopoly business. Hold on. Are you that person that gets jealous when somebody else is doing what you do? Are you that person that gets all worked up and lose your mind if somebody else gets an award in your field? Like if you working with a lawyer and they get top lawyer in the city award, are you freaking out because you want to be the only one? You want to be the monopoly. You want to be the one. Then you need to be answering true to this question. Do you freak out when somebody does something that you feel like you should be doing? That comes from, I'm kind of giving you the principle here in the business world where that comes from. It also comes from those of us that are colonized. If we were the one that massa saw doing the best, we got the most stuff. We got the most fried chicken. We got to spend the night in the big house. We got an extra day off. Maybe we got a little bit more baked goods or something like that. That's where a lot of that comes from. It comes from their desires to create monopolies, and then they created these huge differences within us. But anyway, answer that question, true or false. Okay. Next question. I would outsource to the cheapest labor market, no matter the working conditions, true or false. How many of you all outsource your products or services and you don't take a minute to see where are they being made? What are the conditions under which they are being made? I literally have visited factories overseas so that I could see how they are doing things. I've gone to Korea, to China, to Africa, and seen manufacturing settings. I've been in a lot of y'all restaurants and businesses and seen how you do things. So would you outsource the cheapest labor to the cheapest labor market? If somebody told you and you said, well, I'm selling these sterling silver rings, and there's a place somewhere overseas where I could get them for 25 cents. How many of you all would jump on getting them for 25 cents? Even if you knew there were children as young as this baby right here on the screen, mining the diamonds, mining the silver, and losing their childhood over it. Some of y'all would say, forget that. That's their problem. I don't know. What would you say? True or false? All right, next question. Unionizing employees is a threat to my bottom line, true or false? What is a union? A union is an organization of workers who join together to advocate for their rights and interests in the workplace. This is an interesting question because if you've ever done anything like put together an event in a venue that is unionized, and they tell you, look, it's $1 a person for our union workers, $1 per chair for our union workers to put down your chairs. And you got a venue you're doing and it's 20,000 chairs. Or you are doing construction in a city and there are certain trades where they require you to hire union workers at a union wage, and you're like, this is too much. All this stuff is real, and we're not going to eradicate all of this, but I want us to raise our awareness. So unionizing employees is a threat to my bottom line. True or false? All right. Next question. If I can upsell a customer with something they don't need, I will. True or false? If somebody comes into your store and they're buying, I don't know, a shirt, and you got a shirt for $9.99, and you say, "Nah, let me upsell them to the $29.99," even though they don't necessarily need a $29.99 shirt, they just needed the $9.99 one. Will you upsell them? Will you upsell somebody even if it's something they don't need? Again, no judgment. It ain't no hating on it. Half the stuff that we sell that people buy is stuff that folks don't need. True stuff. True story. I remember going to Michelle Obama's Becoming tour, and it was so fabulous. I actually went in Chicago and I went in DC, and we got to have a meet and greet with her. And the one I went to in Chicago was more special because I was with some friends that actually knew her, and we hung out. Look, we were so high off of just meeting the first lady, and they was playing some house music. We had a great time. And I remember when we went to the vending area, I spent about $500. And I know everybody else I was with spent about that same amount. We bought books, we bought t-shirts, we bought keychains. You know, we had these bags. It was so much. We had a good time. The spending felt good. Do we need any of this stuff? No. Do I know where any of that stuff is today? Mm-mm. So there's no judgment. I just want you to answer true or false. Wouldn't it be wonderful if you had an event and people were just getting stuff? That happens. When I got to DC, the DC event wasn't as, I would say, warm and fuzzy as the one here in Chicago with the house music and all of that, but it was nice too. I spent a couple more $100 over there because you're just high. You're high off the situation. And there are people there with stuff for you to buy because they know you're high. Look, I was on the road as a business consultant and a developer for 7 years, probably more than that, but I know 7 years straight. I had these different contracts, and I was popping in and out of cities, doing analyst work, being an interim controller, doing crisis management, solving problems. It's just solving problem after problem after problem after problem. And Prince did 2 tours during that time. I'm a huge Prince fan. I was part of New Power Generation. And I'd be in the city somewhere, and I'm bored. I said, let me see where he is. I said, oh, shoot, he's here tomorrow? Let me get tickets. Let me go. You know how many Prince t-shirts and Prince stuff that I have that I bought at those events? I didn't need it, but I bought it. And believe it or not, that's a form of predatory capitalism. It's not the worst form of it to sell people stuff that they don't need, but it's a form of it. So we're just being honest here, okay? We're being honest here. And I'd rather you do this than some of the other predatory stuff. But let me keep going here. Next question. I view environmental regulations as obstacles, not responsibilities. True or false? How many of you all in your business endeavors have included some aspect of the environment in your stakeholders that you're concerned about? Or is your only stakeholder your bottom line? Your money you got to make, your bills you got to pay? That makes you a predatory capitalist, because if you, let's say you own a business and you fry chicken, and instead of hiring a company to come and remove the old grease, you dump it out back, you dump it down in the sewer, then you have to answer true to this question. How many of us litter? How many of us don't pay for trash removal and we just take the garbage, the bags, and go dump it in somebody else's dumpster and we don't know what they're doing with it? How many of us are burning some type of chemical that's illegal, that's going out into the air? I've seen that with companies. I've done projects with recycled energy companies where they're literally recycling energy and trying to help save the environment. Those were very interesting projects. I spent about a year with a company. I had a team there that was doing that. So anyway, answer the question, true or false. I view environmental regulations as obstacles, not responsibilities. If you don't have this as one of your stakeholders, then you need to answer true. All right. Next question. Paying taxes is a sign of poor financial strategy. True or false? I had somebody say to me the other day, you need to strive to pay as little taxes or no taxes as possible. And that was part of their financial strategy. My thing is pay them people what they owe. But if this is part of your strategy and you're willing to do this and go through all kind of whatever you got to go through, the answer is true or false. You make the judgment on whether or not it's right or wrong, but we're going to answer the question here today. All right. Next question. I celebrate when competitors fail, even if it means layoffs or community harm. True or false? How many of you all secretly get excited when somebody's not doing good in business? How many of you all are jealous and envious of the next person? You might be saying, no, But if you know that person and you didn't get over there to help them, let me tell you something that I do to help myself eradicate from this form of predatory capitalism. If I have to organize a dinner, I find somebody that I know that owns a restaurant or a Black-owned business, and I'll say, let's hold it there. If I want to have coffee with somebody, I try to go to a black coffee shop. This is my way of not only giving back to my community and making sure that my community is in the forefront whenever I purchase or spend money, because I at least want to make sure my dollar makes it past 6 hours, which is different from the average amount of time that the dollar spends in the Black community. So I say, well, maybe I can make it last a day. I got paid from a Black client. I got to organize a dinner for another client. Let's go to a Black restaurant, or I need to purchase something to wear. Let me find a Black boutique. Or if I see somebody and they tell me, hey, my business is not doing well, instead of me trying to analyze and trying to figure out what I would do better and all of that, I try to see what I can do to support them. How can I send some customers their way? But answer this question. I celebrate when competitors fail, even if it means layoffs or community harm. If you just automatically get an attitude with somebody because they're not doing well and they need help, I ain't got time. You gotta check true to this. And it's okay. It's okay. We have been taught capitalism and business by somebody who kept the science of business from us. It's only natural that we're practicing these things, because if we weren't practicing predatory capitalism, let me tell you this, we'd be in direct alignment with Allah. We'd be in direct alignment with God. Jesus would be satisfied with our businesses. Buddha would be satisfied, and the money would be flowing, and you'd need teams of people to manage the blessings. If that's not happening to you, then something is off. There's some predator somewhere either standing in front of your flow of money, which we want to shine some light on, because a lot of y'all know these predators that are preventing other people from getting the money that they need. And some of y'all are the predators that are preventing people from getting the money that they need. All right. But it's no judgment. Why do I say that? Why do I keep saying that? Because we've been taught business by a people who began a system with a predatory relationship with millions of people that were kidnapped and brought over to this country. And so this whole idea of cheap labor and exploitation and PR campaigns around how to make more money off of people came from that. Who got the most likes? Who don't? That was started way back during slavery. Who's the most favored? Who gets the most attention? Some of us don't even consider somebody successful unless somebody white, and this is for us as Black people or Hispanic people or Indian, unless somebody white says that they're good. I know people who probably didn't necessarily want to, because I'm a Muslim. Okay, I'm a Muslim follower of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, period, point blank. My name is Sajdah, which is a name he gave me, Wendy Muhammad, which is Muhammad, Muslim name, Elijah Muhammad, okay? And I know people who love me and they love talking to me in private, but they would never post me on their page. They would never want to be seen around or do business, but they all want to sneak around and say, sister, can you help me with this? Can you help me with that? But when they find out that white people like me, then all of a sudden they're like, oh, I love her. She's amazing. Oh my God. And it's hilarious to me. It's hilarious, but it's okay. I don't even judge you for it. I don't even judge you for it because I understand the mindset that it's your responsibility to get up out of. All right. Brother Ronald Robinson says science of business is definitely a serious study. The negative effects on the whole of Black economics. I did a few workshops on that a few weeks back. You can check around in the history here where I talked about the history of capitalism. I talked about the various industries that benefited from the slave trade. We talked about reparations just in the last few weeks. All right, let me go to the next question. All right, true or false? If my product breaks shortly after the warranty or on the way to the product to the customer, so what? Ain't my problem. True or false? Some of y'all don't even have a refund policy with your business. Some of y'all learn businesses from these people that have been in our community where they don't let us bring stuff back. You try to take something back to the beauty supply company and they like, no refunds. They got it posted up on the wall behind you, no refunds. Some of y'all learn business from them because that's the only form of business that you've seen. And we already know many of them practice predatory capitalism. They come into our community, prey on our community, offer us cheap, discount, expired goods and services, things with chemicals in it, things that are unsafe, things that causing us cancer, killing us. And they offer it into our community in volumes. And then tell us no refund. You can't go back to them. You can't sue them. You can't even figure out who really owned the company or the business. You can't pronounce their name. They tell you, they'll come to the counter and say, oh yeah, I'm sued. But you see something else on the license. You can't get to the bottom of it. That is predatory capitalism. And a lot of us have only seen that type of business. And that's the kind of business we practice. We just dress it up with a pretty face, with cute decor. But we don't want nobody calling us back talking about, give me my money back. Some of us run nonprofit organizations and we get the free money and all we do is just give out cheap products and dumb services and silly stuff. We don't do anything to better our community with the money. I posted something on social media about how a lot of these nonprofits are getting millions of dollars and they don't help a damn soul. We got more homelessness, more problems, And that money is being distributed. I literally looked at that. I said, give me the money. I'm going to show you how to help people, because helping people and being of service is part of our way of life as Muslim followers of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. We have over 100 years of service training under our belt. We know how to serve. We are services enjoined upon us. Give me them millions of dollars you wasting on these other nonprofits, and I'm going to show you how to eradicate, whether it's homelessness, all this sexual subculture, these people running away to be prostitutes and all that. People come to these programs and they're no better when they leave than when they came. They're not being taught anything. They don't leave with a tool. If you're homeless, if you got a problem, you're not getting any mental health aid assistance. You're not getting anything that's going to help you in the long term, a tool that you can take with you that will help improve your life. People are going through after school programs, daycare programs, and people just being housed like animals, but they're not being taught one thing. No principles. They can't say when they leave there, I learned this when I went to that particular place, that particular daycare. All right. I'm sorry to go on my rant. The question is, if my product breaks shortly after warranty, so what? True or false? How would you answer that? A few more questions here. I lobby politicians to maintain advantages, even if it hurts the public. True or false? Some of you all are all about, let me get next to the politician. Let me get what I want. I don't care holistically. And then we judge politicians too. Because if they don't say what exactly they doing for you, then you don't like them. Some of you are not at the point where you lobby, but you may lobby on a smaller basis where you are politicking, if you will, with your local politicians. So the question is there, true or false? All right, next. I believe in making money by any means necessary, true or false? And you all know that many of us have been reduced to survivor mode in our lives, in our neighborhoods, in our community. And it's like, I got to do what I got to do. You see women subjecting themselves to abuse just because they don't want to live a certain lifestyle, or because they want to live a certain lifestyle. They want to be a star. They want this. They want that. If you all check out the People's Podcast yesterday, my great friend, the warrior lawyer, Sajdah Evangelista Kareem, she broke down the Diddy trial and the predatory behavior that when somebody's practicing that level of predatory capitalism, because they're mimicking a mindset that is the master predator, then you best believe in other business practices, there's other predatory behaviors around them. See, you can't hide from energy. And a lot of us have gotten to the point where I got to do what I got to do by any means necessary. And if it means compromising their morals, their ethics, whatever they got to do, become a stripper, get on the strip pole, take your clothes off, sleep with somebody, do whatever you got to do. A lot of people are like, I got to do what I got to do. I don't care if it's even demeaning. I'm not talking about people who say, well, I might have to go out here and earn an honest day's living per se by mopping floors. And maybe I graduated from law school, but right now I need this extra money. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about people who are like, it's by any means necessary. Whoever I got to exploit, if I got to sell drugs that kill other people, I don't care. If I got to sell my soul, that's what I mean by any means necessary in this comment. Okay, true or false? I believe in making money by any means necessary. All right. Next question, next to the last. Customer data is a resource to exploit, not protect. True or false? How many of you all are collecting people's data in your businesses, whether they're students, I don't care if they're a homeless person, a child, a customer? How many of you all are doing what you got to do to protect their data? How many of you all have double checked to make sure that the software you're using or the files you have on your clients are protected? If you're not making sure that you safeguard that, then you need to answer true to this. All right. I know when we were building the hospital, we spent over $5,000 a month on data security. And that was over and above what the state told us that they needed. We even had so many measures internally. Do you leave files around? Right now in your office, is somebody's personal records open? Are you openly gossiping about a customer or a client? Answer the question. No judgment zone. We just are working to eradicate predatory capitalism within ourselves. We can only start with what we can control. This is the real science of business here we diving into, y'all. Some of it. Let's go. Next question, last question. I do what I got to do in order to advance my business. True or false? You do what you got to do in order to advance your business. It's very similar to the last question. Just worded a little bit differently. All right. Take a minute, add up your scores. Okay. And we're going to go over that. Any questions in the chat before we go over your scores? We're going to go over the scores. We're going to close out for today, and we're going to come back tomorrow, talk about our results. We're going to talk about some of the things and some of the ways in which we can begin to do business that is not predatory. We're not going to eradicate all of it because we live in a system where there are certain dependencies in the system. And I'm not an anti-capitalist, but I'm definitely anti-predatory. Okay. All right. You should have your scores. All right. Give yourself 1 point for every true answer and add up your scores, 0 to 15 points. Okay. 1 point for every true answer. Don't worry about the false answers. 1 point for every true. All right. If you got 0 to 3 points, then we would call you a benevolent capitalist. Okay. You damn near perfect. You likely value your ethics. You value sustainability. And you value people over profits. You're the kind of capitalist who believes business can be a force of good. I believe that. And that's from watching the model of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. Others might call you soft, but history may call you a visionary. There's so many people out here who say, I don't like business. I can't stand business because in business, you got to be ruthless. That is not true. The reason why you think you got to be ruthless in business is because you don't know other business models that you can deploy, and you don't know how to do business without being ruthless because nobody taught you that. And what we're saying is those old business models no longer work, and they definitely don't work for those of us in our righteous communities. Those of us who are trying to stop the predatory behavior. And let me tell y'all something. If y'all know somebody that's a predator, shut that shit down. Because people who are preying openly on people, victimizing them, weirdo behavior, shut it down. Next question, next point section, 4 to 7 points. You're the strategic capitalist, they say. And these are just loose. It's just fun, something to get us thinking. And let me know in the chat if I'm raising your awareness and making you think through this a little bit, because that's all we can do. This is up to you, because only you know who you are when nobody's looking, you and God. But guess what? We're quickly moving into a phase where people can see you. There's some people who are seers. Some people got eyes. Some people that can see you. And you best believe your open enemy sees you and they looking at you. And all they doing is just laying in the cut. They already clocked your weakness. They already clocked what you're doing in the dark. And as soon as you raise your head and get above a certain income level or start bucking the system, you're going to be somewhere facing what you've been doing in the dark that you thought nobody could see. So the strategic capitalist, if you got 4 to 7 points, you play the game with both ambition and conscience. You might cut corners occasionally, but you're not ruthless. You walk the line between efficiency and exploitation. All right. Here's the next one. The cold-blooded capitalist. If you got 8 to 11 points, again, no judgment zone, means you just got some work to do. You're shrewd. You're highly profit-driven and likely see ethical concerns as optional. You're not the worst, but empathy is not your first tool. The bottom line comes first, second, and third to you. All right. And you know what's interesting in this category? If you're one of these shrewd type of people and you don't have a lot of money, that's when it's really sickening. If a person is shrewd and they going through all this, selling their soul down the river, and they don't got no whole lot of money, what is the point? Why sell your soul? You ain't making no money no way. Just try to get it together. That's the part that's interesting. And this is where a lot of us in our community are. All right, next section, 12 to 15 points. You're a predatory capitalist, straight up. You are the apex predator of the business world. These is going to be our pimps, our hustlers, people that take advantage of folks. You're ruthless, you're efficient, and possibly dangerous to society. Let that set in for a minute. Congratulations. Your soul may be tax deductible. Period. Got some work to do. All right. Now, we're going to get out of here. This was our predatory capitalism. Here's the flyer that we had out that you all seen. Forward this flyer. If you see it on social media to people, we'll put this up where people can go out and watch it again. I'll air it again a little bit later. Let's do business in a righteous manner, because let me tell you something. If we go and get a separate territory, let's say we end up with a whole state where conscious people are working and farming and living and creating heaven on earth, we cannot bring these predatory business practices to the new territory. It's one thing to say, okay, we're getting ready to separate. We out of here. We're getting ready to create our own community, our own neighborhoods. But if you're a predator, you can't come. And some of us are predators and we don't even know it. So we got to be trained and we got to mind this up out of us. I'm not even going to say that, but we got to mind it up out of us. Okay. I was in, we got a few minutes left in the hour. I was in Liberia a few years ago and learning the history of Liberia and how Liberia came about with the freed American slaves. And when I looked at some of the things that were happening in Liberia, I said, the problem here is that the teachings, the self-improvement, the way of life of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan clearly are not being deployed here. And these same, let me say this, you could see Willie Lynch on steroids, the light against the dark, the Americano Liberians against the native Liberians, all this back and forth, the exploitation, treating people a certain way because they're from a certain place. But it was the Willie Lynch, the Jim Crow-ism that was there in the business world. See, when I'm traveling to a lot of these countries, I'm going as a business person. So I'm at the table with the developers. I'm at the table with the program makers. I'm not traveling as a tourist. So I don't vacation like that. I actually travel as a business person, and I'm sitting at the table and I know what I'm listening to. I'm listening to predators in a lot of cases. Most of these countries that you hear me telling you that I've been to, I've been there as a business person or as a contractor. It's different. So I want you to understand my perspective when I say these things. But when we were, quote unquote, freed as slaves in America and went to Liberia, not only did we go there escaping, of course, the torment and the torture that was here, we took that with us. And so the way the white man treated us over here, we went over there and treated our brothers and sisters that way and created this war-torn country. And guess what? The big predator just stepped back and watched us with all this infighting, and they came in and said, let me get the rubber trees. Thank you very much. Let me get all these resources. Let me get the gold. Let me get the diamonds. While y'all over here fighting, talking about light skin against dark skin and American African against African or whatever y'all was calling it, let me get that up out of you. That's what they were doing. All right. So spread this. And then Sunday is the beginning of my money psychology webinar bundle. And so use this QR code. I'll leave it up here on the screen as we close out. Okay. If you want to come to all 4 webinars, it's $49. Okay. And we're going to be talking about credit literacy, financial literacy. I'm going to give you some mental strategies. The very first webinar on Sunday, you know what we're going to do? We're going to work on removing poverty consciousness from our epigenetics. We're going to work on removing poverty consciousness from our DNA. See, we're carrying this stuff from our past, and we can't get rid of it. We can't figure out why we can't make it. See, you got to remember, when you're descendant of gods, even if they were gods who went through a lot, their energy, their power is still there. It's still affecting us. So we're going to work on a very simple technique. We're not getting real complicated. You ain't got to go back and I don't believe in reliving all this stuff. We're not going to break you open and hypnotize you or none of that. But we're going to work on removing poverty consciousness from our DNA in this very first session. Then we're going to go into credit literacy next Sunday. And then the following Sunday, which I think is June 8th, we're going to do financial literacy. And then that last workshop webinar on the 15th, we're going to just go through mental strategies. Because then now, once we've raised the awareness, as you're navigating through the business world, you're going to need tools. You're going to need strategies. So you know how to stand strong against the threats, against all of that. And so we're going to talk about that. Okay. So use the QR code, which is right here. It's been in the corner the whole show. And sign up The first one is Sunday at 7 p.m. Central Time. If you want to attend all four, it's $49. If you just want to attend one, you say, look, I'm cool on credit. I'm cool on financial literacy. I don't need no financial strategies, but I want to come and work on removing poverty consciousness from my epigenetics and from my DNA. Then come on Sunday, and all you have to do is pay $25. When you use the QR code, it's going to give you options on which ones you can attend. So you can attend all four, or you can attend individual ones. If you say, look, I got all the rest of that, I don't care about none of that, I just want to learn about credit, then just pay for the credit one. But we start Sunday, 7 p.m. Central Time. It will not be here for free. Okay? It's not going to be broadcast here on YouTube, Facebook, or LinkedIn for free, like we just did the free Predatory Capitalism workshop. So come back tomorrow morning. Be a friend, tell a friend. I'll make sure that this gets rebroadcast. Come back tomorrow morning, and we're going to close this whole predatory capitalism discussion out. And we're going to talk about how it's really going to be deep, going a little bit deeper into our proper handling of people discussion. But we're going to talk about how not to practice predatory capitalism. All right. Thank you, Brother Ronald, for the compliments. Appreciate you. And we got an event coming up at the Elijah Muhammad House. It's going to be Black Waltz in White. So if you came to the opera, y'all know how we do it. We getting ready to really do it with the waltz. So I'm going to show you that commercial, and we're going to go out, and I will see you all, inshallah, tomorrow morning right here, 6 a.m. on the Sajdah channel. And remember, it's not personal, it's vibrational. The Elijah Muhammad House presents Black Waltz in White, an electrifying and elegant movement introduced to the Nation of Islam in the 1930s by Master W. Fard Muhammad. Join us for the second event in our Arts, Culture, and Civilization series. Learn more about the level of culture and refinement taught and demonstrated by the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. We'll be there Thursday, June 26th at 6 p.m. in Elijah's Garden of Peace at 4847 South Woodlawn Avenue. All ages are welcome to attend this special event of dance, education, in our sacred space. Visit ElijahMuhammadHouse.com to secure your seats.